Okay, this video is going to be about how to find freelance video editing clients, specifically on LinkedIn. There's some broad principles that kind of work everywhere. I've been a video editor for 17 years professionally, and I know what's worked for me, what hasn't worked. I saw something on LinkedIn recently, kind of made me say, "Grr," like I'm not sure this is going to work. But real quick, this is like sort of the outline that I just jammed out about, which is this is what I'm going to cover in this video. I'm not going to do a bunch of cutting on this video. This is going to be kind of a real time conversation. But anyway, that's what I'm going to cover. But before that, I just want to quickly get to this real-time example of this post on LinkedIn. I'm certainly not trying to scapegoat anybody or anything, so I'm going to blur out, who it is and companies and things. Hi, LinkedIn. I'm looking for freelance video editors who would be interested in working with this team, internal team at this household name company, big company. This is remote, based in the US. Please say hi. And I think, oops, I kind of chopped it off. It says, please hi and send your portfolios. And when I looked at it, there were 292 comments and 20 reposts. And almost 200 people liked it. I have mixed feelings about this. I'm glad someone's reaching out, saying that they have opportunity and that people are like, hey, there's opportunity. But this isn't really how it works. And I don't think this is going to work very well for most of those people. So I'm going to go ahead and share what has worked for me. And you can take what you want and leave the rest. If you think this sounds valuable, please use it. If not, also, if you have any comments or suggestions that, something I'm off on, I would love to just engage around that. But this is what's worked for me. I have a degree in marketing that I got in 2002. And then 5 years later, I went to a post-production trade school in Los Angeles. So it's a little bit of a career twist and turn. But combining that with, at this trade school, learned, taking decks apart with screwdrivers and everything like that. Really great post-production training. They had a career class at the end. They kind of gave us marketplace overview and how to find jobs. And I also had a mentor early on. And anyhow, a lot of this stuff has held up over the years. So that's why I thought it'd be fun to share it. Okay, so in particular, this LinkedIn post and why I think it's probably not great for the poster or for anyone who's responding or reposting it. There are three marketplace dynamics that are really hard to get around. And that the first one is that personal referrals are the bulk of the work, good work, collaborative teamwork on interesting projects in post-production, in production and post-production, in the whole video world. That isn't a full-time job, basically, which is where most of the interesting work is. So if there's no referral, obviously, in this, that's a big sort of we're broadcasting to the internet. And then before the post, as in before this person posted this, there was a business need, right? And he or she didn't have someone to call. Well, that's why they're making this post. So that's another clue. We'll get to that later. And, the third one is like, are you the buyer or the seller? In every transaction, even if you're a person being hired, you can still be the buyer. The buyer is the one in charge of the transaction, is how I'm defining this, right? I learned this from somebody else, but in general, if you are on the internet and you are in this very small sliver of the actual opportunity in the marketplace, it's pretty hard to have the initiative because they're getting hundreds of resumes and portfolios. And if they're shopping by price, that's even worse. This household name company is probably not shopping by price. They probably just don't know anybody, but it's still a lot of noise to cut through. And the chance that you're cutting through and maintaining control of the conversation or the transaction or the negotiation, it's not very good. So you tend to be the seller if you're on the internet. But there's good news, which is that none of the marketplace is even on the internet. So let's go ahead and get to that next fun part here. So this is what has worked for me, and this is what I learned again from mentorship and through a career class at this trade school. Now this data that they taught us in this class was from 2006, and I remember in the class somebody saying, "But over at the fill in the blank cable channel here in town in LA, they're only paying $15 an hour for editors." It was exactly the same problem. Like, there's always this little sliver of stuff that looks like real information that's just public and broadcast. That's not the real info. So, and in today's market, I still see this being essentially the same. I think it's because it's expensive and risky to hire the wrong person onto a team, technically, creatively, or teamwork skills, mostly teamwork skills, and it can affect delivery. And so, therefore, it's not worth the risk most of the time to hire a stranger. So, the segment data from the trade school. Not that it was that 90% of the work is referred, 90% of the marketplace. And we're talking about, market rates or good, strong market rates for interesting, collaborative, creative teamwork. In LA, it was a lot of feature film and TV people, right? I've already worked on one feature and no TV. So I did a lot of corporate industrial agencies, marketing, stuff like that. It still holds up. 7% is something that they called direct contact, which was getting in front of a referral. So there is a marketing manager, a producer, a communications person somewhere right now who's thinking, we got that product demo video next month. Oh, darn it, we have that exec communications thing in next quarter that didn't work last quarter. We're going to have to solve that problem. So there, 7% of the work out there is stuff that is in someone's mind that has not been referred or won't be referred because they don't know anybody. But it's not public, right? Nobody knows about it. So that's the best opportunity in this little pie. So we'll get to that in a minute. So specific to LinkedIn, and 3% is everything on the internet, which is actually counterproductive. Like if you spend your time going after the 3%, not only are you giving yourself a 3% chance, it's awful. So, and the work you might get isn't very good and usually doesn't pay well and usually doesn't lead to good work. It's a great way to run out of money. Okay, so specific to LinkedIn is having an offer. So I'm going to skip down here real quick and just kind of tell you how I've done this before. When I moved to Denver, I didn't know anybody. Kind of moved here for family reasons, and I had been in video for 13 years at that point, and I drummed up work, and I'll tell you exactly how I did it on LinkedIn. So the offer is okay. So here's the thing. Here's what to do: get many relationships. Oops, I'm in trouble. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Apple. Okay, so the offer is something to get relationships. Compelling offer is something of value to somebody else. It's not for you, it's for them. And it's a value, according to Alex Hormozzi's language, is really good, which is an offer that's so good that they would feel not smart saying no. It's so good. And patience is important because we're farming, we're not hunting. Okay, planting seeds, right? And just waiting for the crops to grow. But they do grow. If you plant the seeds, they grow. It just takes a little while. So, and it worked for me. So I'll tell a specific example after I kind of go back up here to the specific to LinkedIn section. So this is what I have done on LinkedIn. I moved somewhere I knew nobody, it's a little harder to start with knowing no one. I went on LinkedIn. I found people who hire video people, producer, production manager, communications vice president, anything that looks like a marketing or communications person or producer of video content specifically. And I got 40, 60 names just using those titles in my local area, which is Denver, which is a mid-sized city. So then what do you do with that? So then I wrote those little in mails, right? And I would say, hey, this is my offer, ready? Very, very complex. Hello, we are in the same line of work. Something real. I would look, of course, and see what they do. See if I can say something like, oh, it looks like you do this and this and this, or I like that video maybe, or whatever. And then say, I am new to town. I am in your line of work. It looks like maybe you work with video people. I'm not thinking you have an opportunity for me. However, at some point down the line, and then use whatever language makes sense, like our paths might cross and, maybe you'd think of me at that point. So therefore, I'd love to meet you now, just in case that happens in the future. That was a really long example, but here we go. Hi, so-and-so. I'm paying attention to know who you are. I'm in your line of work. I'm new in town. Would you like to say hello? I'd like to buy you a cup of coffee or something. Not because I think you have an opportunity, but because I would love you to think of me the next time one comes down the line, in the future. It's possible you might actually need somebody like me. So let's meet now, stay in touch. And then when that day comes, like you have me sort of sitting there. Like if you hire people, and I've been a hiring manager and I'm blown away by the fact that people wouldn't contact me over and over again in this way so that I would have a bench of candidates just ready to go when I need something, right? So anyway, this worked. I did that and went around town. And of course, a month or two later, this person who hired video editors regularly said, oh, I have a gap. And then when I got there, I massively overperformed and then got hired back over and over and over again. Um, and it's not much more complicated than that. Okay, so um, understand. So that's on the internet, but I'm using the internet to find people and talk to them, right? There's no postings. There's no like, oh, there's no fishing for me. I'm fishing for them, but I'm also not fishing. I'm like, planting really valuable seeds, like actually trying to help people. Okay, so that really makes a big difference. Okay, so trickiness here. Remember, activity might not be productivity. So and I've done this, by the way. I have made this mistake, even knowing what to do. I've still made the same mistake. Like go on Indeed or something. I'm like, oh, work dried up. I'm on there looking, and then I guess like face palm 20 minutes later. I'm like, this is not what to do. And then I go back to doing what I know works. But it can feel like you're doing something productive when you're really just doing some activity. So that's not good, especially if you incur opportunity cost, right? If you spend 3 hours doing something you know is not going to work, that's 3 hours you could have used to do something that might work. Okay. So the 4 P's of marketing, this is right out of college for me, but is, what am I providing? What is it priced? How is it distributed? In video editing now, of course, we have like various types of remote workflow, proxy workflows. You can work in town somewhere in an edit bay. And then there's promotion, which is just getting the word out. And that's not, I guess we could talk about edit reels, but I didn't have one for 10 years. Maybe that's a whole other story, but I would purposely not have an edit reel just so that when someone would say, hey, can I see your reel? I wouldn't be able to send it to them because if you send someone a reel, then you have to wait to see what they say about it. Instead, I would say, I don't have one. What are you looking for? Oh, we're making a blog commercial. I have an example of that. Here you go. In other words, the reel would be the confirmation that they should hire me. Because if someone's fishing for reels, just gathering reels, very few people are hired based on their creative. It's the ability to deliver and technically deliver combined with service, communication, and teamwork usually. And creative's kind of like a sweetener. But if you're great at creative, not trying to say that that's bad, but in general, promoting based on creative is not great for business for you. So start with the teamwork and the service. Okay. So anyway, no internet posts. Here's a good one, which I was kind of alluding to before with the opportunity cost. If you don't go on the internet and you're sitting at some coffee shop and you don't have any work to do, you will be confronted with the challenge. And I mean go on the internet by talking about looking for posted jobs anywhere, any kind of freelance marketplace, any kind of full-time job marketplace, freelance marketplace, gig economy kind of place, from TaskRabbit and Upwork or whatever it's called now to LinkedIn. If you stay out of those places, you're confronted with a challenge. Maybe I should call some people I know. Maybe I should search for people who fit the description I said before and offer them something. And you're going to want a little CRM too. But anyway, so I hope that was helpful. Again, this is what's worked for me over the years, and I'm really grateful that I had a marketing background. I understood those basics of how to market and sell anything. And then at the trade school, they gave us really, really good data about how to market ourselves. And I left there and I made a good living. And my mentor, Ross Chidici, I love you, Ross. He hired me for my first jobs and taught me a lot. He's still an editor. He's been doing it for like 30 years. And now I consult. So, helping people make video content at scale when they have problems with team questions, insourcing, outsourcing, camera lights and audio, asset management, storage, studio, non-studio, vendor, versus FTE and freelancers, etc. The complexity of making lots of video content is pretty high. So that's what I do these days. But I also still video edit, and there you go. I like this stuff. I think it's fun to look for work, and especially if I'm thinking about the needs of people and how I can help them, because my skills aren't just like marketplace valuable and good for me to be able to feed my kids and pay the mortgage. It's a way to add value and feel good. So, best wishes to everybody finding work. Again, if you have any thoughts about what I said and was not smart or what might be smarter, follow up anything, I will make that. Okay, thanks a lot.